The future of our great nation lies with our youth. We need our next generation of innovators and leaders to possess the skills and knowledge capable of advancing our country, something provided by our adept education systems. Our schools, in and of themselves, are individual communities, a place where students and faculty alike spend a large portion of their everyday lives. And if it is to be successful, must be founded upon the grounds of equality and fairness, a reflection of our own country's legislation. The ideals for equal protection have been augmented for more than a century, originating from cases such as Plessy versus Ferguson. And the equal protection jurisprudence is an ongoing exercise in constitutional application, with the recent controversy surrounding Harvard's affirmative action policies. Why is equal protection so pivotal to education today? Why is it so commonly debated? And most of all, what does it mean to students?
The origin of the Equal Protection Clause can be traced back to 1866, when Andrew Johnson vetoed the Civil Rights Act. In response, Congress drafted the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment defines citizenship, while the Equal Protection Clause provides all citizens the equal protection of the laws, or equal treatment among those with similar circumstances. The Equal Protection Clause, as it relates to education, has evolved in both meaning and impact since its conception, impacting issues from racial segregation to opportunities for female students. Laying the groundwork for Brown v. Board of Education and school desegregation, the case Mendez v. Westminster involved a segregated school for Mexican children in Orange County, California. There, the federal district court declared that all children should be offered the same educational opportunity regardless of lineage. In 1896, in the case Plessy v. Ferguson, the constitutionality of separate but equal facilities was upheld, but the ruling was overturned in 1954 in Brown v. Board of Education, where separate was deemed inherently unequal. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 applied anti-discrimination to work environments and public places. In 1974, Law v. Nichols, the Supreme Court ruled that the absence of non-English language learning tools in public schools was discriminatory under the Civil Rights Act. In the 2017 case Andrew F. v. Douglas County School District, the court held public schools must provide a unique and appropriate education to special needs students. Title IX of federal civil rights law was passed as part of the Educational Amendments of 1972, prohibiting discrimination on the basis of sex. Effects of Title IX at the school level are seen in female sport participation, which spiked 450% after Title IX's passage, as well as transgendered rights when the Obama administration expanded Title IX's protections to transgendered students. All of these cases and legislation establish or clarify an aspect of equal protection in education. The treatment of students in similar circumstances, which is one of the key purposes of equal protection. However, what if the individual, in this case students, is unable to be treated the same as another? The educational environment is crucial to a student's learning experience and should maintain a certain level of quality, but many schools have a higher quality than others. A major contribution to a school's success is its funding, as funding affects everything from materials to the extracurricular. Schools receive a majority of their funding from local governments, from a pool of money which mostly derives from property tax. Consequently, a school surrounded by a poorer area receives less funding. This system costs some schools alternative funding, such as the provisions provided by the No Child Left Behind and IDEA programs, of which are typically authorized by wealthier schools.
Affirmative action, first introduced by President John F. Kennedy in 1961, sought to enable minority classes that had been discriminated against historically. The remedy for previous maltreatments was favorable discrimination, the thread linking all affirmative action policies. This is visible in cases such as Regents of the University of California v. Baca in 1978, in which the University of California's affirmative action policies were allowed as favorable discrimination. Similarly, in the case Gratz v. Bollinger and Grutter v. Bollinger, in 2003, the Supreme Court ruled that the University of Michigan's affirmative action system must have only a compelling interest in race and established that affirmative action did not meet the criteria for strict scrutiny, respectively. Affirmative action is not without its faults, however. Asian Americans, despite being a discriminable minority, are often discriminated against in many affirmative action admission programs. Harvard has recently been scrutinized due to their affirmative action policies, with a group of Asian Americans students recently filing a lawsuit against such policy. Equal protection is the foundation for an equal chance, yet equality as a whole has not been achieved. That does not mean we should discontinue any pursuits for equality among our education system. So where do you stand? Should school funding be distributed equally among all schools locally, nationally? Should affirmative action remain unchanged, or should there be a reform? What other changes can and should be made to our schooling system to ensure equality among our students?